What's up guys, Coyote Works here. Well, I'm super excited. Today's the moment that we've all been waiting for a long time for. I'm heading out to dig up a rifle that I buried in the ground a little over a year ago. So I'm going to grab a couple of things here, day pack, a little entrenching tool, and then we're going to walk off, and the first thing we have to do is find it, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to dig it up, and we're going to see what kind of condition this rifle's in after it's been in the ground for, about 15 months now. So if you guys haven't seen the video where I buried this rifle, you can look back on my channel and find it. But this was a little bit of an experiment. I stuck this rifle in the ground with very little prep. We're hoping, number one, that nobody's found it, and number two, that it's still in good enough workable condition that I could pull it out of the ground and have a serviceable rifle out here. I buried this rifle in the ground over a year ago as part of some experimenting I've been doing with placing various bug-out survival SHTF caches. The idea being to put these caches in strategic locations where they would come in useful to me if I was ever in a bug-out situation. Sometimes keeping track of all the buried survival caches I have out here can be a bit of a challenge, but this one, it's in a really remote area, but it's an area that I've been in my entire life. I have a couple of key landmarks to look for that'll allow me to walk right to the spot where I buried this rifle over a year ago. Alright, so without too much trouble, I found the spot and I'm going to start digging, but first I wanted to show you guys what the spot looked like after over a year's passed since I first buried the cache here. And right where the shovel is right at one end of the hole I dug. And if you guys watched the earlier video, you saw that the hole is a pretty long rectangular hole, obviously long enough for a rifle to fit into. So I'm going to start digging and we'll see how long it takes me to get that thing out of the ground. So part of how I know where my hole is exactly is because I placed a couple of markers here. So this may not look like a lot, but between this cow pie, this small stick, and this log right here, this tells me exactly where my hole lays. Alright guys, it looks like here it is. So I was able to locate it no problem, and I've got down to it and got most of the dirt cleared away. So I see right off the top that the duct tape that I used to secure the foam pad around it has deteriorated a bit, but the foam pad seems to be in good shape. And if you remember from the video on when I buried this, the foam pad was important because when I was digging the hole, what I didn't want is I didn't want to drive the shovel down and damage the rifle. So I wrapped it in that foam pad to give it a little bit of an extra layer of protection. Alright, so let's pull this thing apart and see what she looks like. With a little luck, hopefully I'll still have a fully functioning 1022 in here. So we wrapped it in the foam pad first, and then inside the foam pad, it's in a garbage bag. And then inside the garbage bag, all the contents are in this Mylar bag. A lot of people had comments when I buried this about how this wasn't going to be enough, about how moisture was going to build up in there, the rifle was going to rust, the ammo was going to corrode. So we're going to see how this thing held up over all this time. Now, if you remember right from the first video, there's ammo in here, the rifle, a cleaning kit, and an extra magazine, and to be honest with you, I don't remember what else. Oh, I think some snacks. So we'll try the snacks and see how they held up too. I'm really excited about that. So this Mylar bag was made by a company called Z-Core. And here's the label on it. A moment of truth. See what this thing looks like. Magazine. And there's the rifle. There's actually a magazine in the rifle, but it's an empty magazine. So let's stick this guy in. Seems to work. Now we'll take a little closer look at it. I don't see any rust on it anywhere. No rust on the barrel. At least on the outside of the barrel. I don't see any rust on the trigger. It seemed to fire just fine. You can see the ammo. There's no corrosion on the ammo. The magazine fits in the rifle and out, so it doesn't look like the wood absorbed any moisture or anything. Yeah, everything looks good. Let's take a couple more shots. Still seems to be sighted in decent. No change to the point of impact. I'm going to call the rifle good to go. So that part of the experiment went really well. Looks like it's in exactly the same condition as when I put it in there. So let's set this aside and look at what else is in the pack. My Honey Stinger caffeine gel pack. Let's give this guy a try. I could use some caffeine anyway. Looks fine. It's delicious. That's good stuff. That'll fuel me up for the rest of the video. Let's see what else we got in here. A nice, delicious, tropical fruit flavored New Millennium bar. Let's see how this thing fared. Looks good. I don't see any mold on it or anything. It tastes a little funny, but these things taste kind of funny anyway. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Let's see what else we got in here. So this stuff should all be fine. This was the cleaning kit in here. Oh, and here's a close-up on the brand of that Mylar bag that I used, the Z-Core. All this stuff looks good. Another caffeine gel pack. Ooh, the salted nut roll feels a little rough. I don't know about this guy. Other than being hard as a rock, it does taste a little funny. I don't know that these are the best things to put in a survival cache, but it's not terrible. Let's see how the ammo held up. So I stuck 200 rounds of CCI mini mags in here, and they look absolutely perfect. There's no corrosion or anything on them at all. Yeah, they look fine. I'm going to call this ammo great. So that's pretty interesting. So that's what all this stuff looks like after being in the ground for, really, it's been like 15 months now. So it's been sitting out here through a couple of hunting seasons, through a complete winter, summer, and it was a really hard winter. So most of this stuff was probably on average about 14 inches down. So other than the salted nut roll, that's a little suspect. I don't know how comfortable I'd feel eating that whole thing, but that was sort of an experiment anyway. We all know that peanuts don't have a really long shelf life, but everything else seems to have held up real good. There's absolutely zero damage or corrosion with the rifle or the ammo, which was the important piece of this cache. So I'm going to call this experiment a success and say that I feel comfortable out in this dry desert country burying a rifle in the ground and nothing more than a Mylar bag and a plastic bag and a tarp, and I think it would be just fine. I'm going to call this good to go, enjoy some of the delicious snacks I buried with it, and shoot this 1022 that I haven't had for a year. And so I hope you guys enjoyed the conclusion to this experiment. I'm going to put this stuff back together and bury it in the ground in a different location. Hit me up with any comments or questions, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Coyote Works out.